like Cheryl and I are going to share this mic, and I'm going to hold it like this. So I move around a lot apparently when I talk. So I either have to tape it to my cheek or hold it, and we'll see how if this is more stable. Otherwise, I'll just tape it to my cheek, which is no problem. And so this morning, I'm very, very happy that Cheryl accepted the invitation spontaneously to come and join me. And I just want to say a few simple words about our practice. I've been writing the last couple weeks about love in different ways. I think it's always leading up to Valentine's Day. It's a big question. I remember in class, I don't know if kids still do this, but we would give each other Valentines. There would be these little Valentines you would put in miniature envelopes, heart-shaped cards, be my Valentine, or just little slogans on them, and then you would count how many you got. And it wasn't quite like counting Halloween candy. This was a little more personal because it was how many people liked you. And I don't mean liked you romantically, but it wasn't really romantic. It was more just like, how many Valentines did you get? And I think there is often that anxiety leading up to Valentine's Day. If you're in a relationship, what should I do? If you're getting along, you want to give something really nice. And what should it be? If you're not getting along, oh dear, what to do? And will it help us get along if we do something, like eat chocolate together? I don't know. And if you don't have a Valentine, well, like my mom always sent me a Valentine every year, no matter what. So there was always a Valentine. And if you don't have a mom who sends you a Valentine, you see them everywhere, and all the, every time you go to the drugstore or anywhere, these hearts and flowers. And then what? How do we understand what love is in a way that lets us all be part of it and not feel like we're excluded from that world of loving relationship? And the teachings that we practice here of mindful awareness and loving kindness and mindful self-compassion and compassion for all beings, these teachings come from the Buddha's teachings. And the Buddha was very, very clear, that our personal life, our personal love, our personal, this body that we inhabit, that they're an expression of something much, much bigger, and an expression of life itself. And when we meditate, this is what we're doing. We're taking all the small personal things of who we are, how we feel this morning, how we slept last night, what we decided to wear, what we ate for breakfast, the thoughts and feelings that are, smushing around in our minds and hearts, whatever pain we carry in our bodies. We're taking all of these little personal elements of who we are, and we're connecting to this, what Soa Nakagawa Roshi called this universal endless dimension life. Endless dimension universal life. We're connecting to life itself, the aliveness of our being. And the privilege, somehow, no matter what our life is like, we recognize it is a privilege to be alive. And we want it to continue. We have a sense that it's good for life to go on. And no matter how bad it is right this minute, or maybe you're in the depths of despair, or maybe you're really suffering a lot of pain, physical, emotional. Some of you are, I know this. And yet there's this sense that life is bigger than that, and we can access that larger space. We call it the space of awareness, but that's very dry. It's really something very, very alive and vivid. Again, it's called emptiness. Why? That word isn't very appealing. I remember early days of meditation, once Joseph said to me, it's all about understanding emptiness. And I was like, really? Is that what it's all about? And Joseph, this reminded me, I was talking about Facebook before, when he tells the story when he first learned to meditate, he thought it was so cool. He invited his friends over to watch. To watch him meditate, that is. Anyway, this emptiness, it really means empty of the kind of preoccupation with ourselves that narrows our view of the world, so that we're looking at each other through this sort of narrow view of, like, are you going to help me? Are you going to hinder me? Do I like you? Do I not? Maybe you don't listen to the kind of music that I like. Or, I don't know, put some hippie clothes. Or whatever it might be. We look at each other through these quick judging lenses. And we look at the sky the same way. We're always thinking about these things that are important to us, and there's nothing wrong with thinking about them, but there is another world that is available to us, which is empty of those preoccupations. We say empty of self, but it really is about being empty of being preoccupied with ourselves. And we all have these moments. They're often very neutral. We don't necessarily notice them, because they're just kind of spacious, quiet, still moments when nothing much is happening. And we've been so oriented to look for something to be happening that we miss the possibility of resting in the simplicity of our own being. When we do that, we actually, as a friend of mine said, I asked her how was her retreat. She'd been in a silent meditation retreat. She said, oh, it was great. I just fell in love with myself all over again. And I stopped for a minute, really? But then I knew what she meant. Like when we can rest in the simplicity of our being, and we can allow ourselves the time and the space to do that, what happens? We really do fall in love with ourselves. We realize how hard we've been living, and we appreciate all the effort of that, of everything that it takes to bring us to this moment of our life. And there's not even any content to it, just the being itself. There is goodness there, and we can tap into that, and we can feel it, and we can do it reliably every single day. So that whatever yesterday was like, we can wake up in the morning and say, this is a fresh new day. This is another day I get to live and have my life and being and move through life and space and interact with beings. And what is this day going to be? We get to do that every single morning. And then when we practice mindfulness, we get to do that every single moment. It's a possibility. No matter how preoccupied I was in the last moment, this moment, oh, I see that little fly with long legs flying around, and its legs, it reminds me of the calligraphy. Then the mind makes its associations. But they can be very interesting and kind of beautiful. Like the way its legs drop down straight. It reminds me of the calligraphy we had on the landing of the Cambridge Buddhist Association, where I was a resident teacher for about 7 years. And it was a beautiful calligraphy by a famous Japanese Zen master named Soen Nakagawa Roshi. And it stood for the word moon in Japanese, which means nothing or none, or these moments of just being and selflessness that I'm talking about. And it had this one very long, straight brush stroke, like the fly's legs, and then all this stuff swirling around the top. Beautiful, like Japanese swirls, and Japanese calligraphy. And those, it was like our sitting, we have that stability of our posture, right? And then all the beautiful swirls, or not so beautiful swirls, however we judge them, that's going on in our minds and hearts all the time, like the fly. So think I'm going to give Cheryl a chance to say a few words, if you would like, and then we'll have some lively discussion. I'm just holding it a bit to the side so it doesn't pop, but maybe it'll work over your ear better than it does over mine. Here, wait, let me mute it if you want to put it on your ear. Okay? Yeah. Tell me when you're ready to unmute it.
Just going to try to find one thing.
Sure. Let me find it later. Okay.
Okay, is that all right?
No.
I'm not hearing anything.
Here, maybe try to hand it out.
Sure. Or is that okay now? So it's really the holding that counts.
I guess.
Okay.
It's supposed to be better than holding, but we wind up holding it.
We will give it a shot. Is that all right, folks?
Yeah.
So thank you, Trudy. What I was looking for spontaneously and can't put my fingers on was the perfect Valentine's Day card that I found when I was here last year teaching a Valentine's workshop for some of you. And I went wandering after the teaching and was drawn into a little shop looking at Valentine's things. And like Trudy, I had that experience, I'm sure many of us did, of, do people like me? How many did I get? And I know my nieces and maybe some of the children in your lives, they're now required to either give no Valentines or they have to give a Valentine to every kid in the class. One can think about whether that's a good idea or not a good idea, but it shows the amount of projection and pain we can get around. Do you love me? Do I matter? Do I count? So the Valentine I was just attempting to put my hands on, I will describe to you. And to me it speaks about what Philip Moffat called once, he plunked himself down once to give a talk on relationships, and he started out with, relationships are dukkha. And I thought, yeah, right on. Because if we're in a good relationship, there's the dukkha or unsatisfactoriness or suffering of wanting it to remain good, right? That's the best kind of suffering, which is things are wonderful and very happy. Please don't let it change, right? So we get a little touch of a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of suffering in the middle of the wealth of happiness. Then there's the suffering of, oh my goodness, my relationship's miserable. Should I stay or should I go? What should I do? Anybody ever felt that, ever? And then there's the larger, perhaps, sufferings of radical heartbreak, especially unexpected and unwanted radical heartbreak. Someone falls in love with someone else and walks out the door, or they leave us through dying. All of these are dukkha in terms of unsatisfactory. They're not the way we want it to be. And the Buddha was a heck of a good relationship therapist if we listen to him in that way. When we cling to wanting things to be a certain way, we're going to suffer. When we can, as Trudy was so beautifully offering, rest in the space of emptiness, or what perhaps might be more palatable and for me more psychologically helpful, more dharmically helpful, is empty fullness, which is the way many teachers translate shunyata. Empty fullness. You know, in the West we think of emptiness as a voidness, a nihilistic quality perhaps. I don't want to walk around feeling empty, do you? Probably not. An empty bank account, that's not what I'm after. What about empty full? So in a Valentine's, in a loving relationship with a partner, with a child, with our parent, with a friend, can we be full in the emptiness? Can we rest in the space between us, which can be love with a capital L? Ideally, love without clinging. Good luck on that one, but we can aspire. We can aspire to love with open arms. So the Valentine's, I will get to, the card, speaks, I think, in a very clear way about the delusion of romantic love and the beauty of the possibility of loving again and again and again in this present moment, potentially with one person for dozens and dozens of years, falling in love all over again with you in this moment, falling in love with this breath over and over again in this moment. And the card has just writing on it, and it says, my heart belongs to, and then there's 3 lines. Kevin struck out, Sean struck out, Billy struck out, you. I love that card. It's perfect. It speaks to the impermanence of the ups and downs of life. First noble truth. It speaks to the love we can feel so deeply and that we feel as this is it forever. Right? How many of us has loved someone that we thought would be the last person we'd ever be with? And they weren't. So my heart belongs to Billy, to John, to Fred, to Marcia, to Janice, to you. Ultimately, my heart belongs more or less to myself. And can I keep it as a rich, abundant, open love? And is love made less because I loved someone before you? Is this breath made less because there was a breath in the moment before? No. We may feel that way. But may we allow the Valentine of Dharma love to be, in this moment there is love. In this moment I can be loving. Because if you want to suffer, make it all about yourself. When I suffer, which I do far more than I wish, not awakened yet, it is because I am worrying about Cheryl and what she needs. And when I suffer in my romantic relationship with my very patient sweetheart, I suffer because I want something from him, about us. And I've lost sense, I've lost the grounded awareness of, can I just, as Trudy said in the meditation, can I just lean back a tiny bit? Can I lean back a tiny bit from my leaning forward to please make me feel a certain way? The grasping, the clinging, the second noble truth, which is the cause of suffering. When I can let go of a self-centered need for Cheryl to be okay, which is totally natural, we all have it, please don't beat yourself up. But when I can sit back a little bit, like Trudy welcomed us to do, and I can just be okay with the not okayness, then I can love. I can unguard the guarded heart, and I can have space to maybe say, what about you, sweetheart? What can I do for you right now? I'm not talking about martyrdom. I'm not talking about not having healthy human needs, that we collaborate with our beloved friends and partners to meet those needs for each other. But I'm talking about the release of the suffering when we cling less to making sure we're okay. And in that, I would say there might be an empty fullness. An empty fullness of love in this moment, in this breath, in this annoyance with you because you said you feed the dog. Whatever it is. Can I just lean back? And here's an idea. Maybe I just go feed the dog. And maybe that's okay. So I offer those as a few words of Valentine's Dharma.
Thank you. See why I like her? Yeah, so I thought that it would be good maybe today to open up the discussion with an emphasis on this question of how we love. How do we love when it's hard to love someone? How do we love ourselves when it's hard to love ourselves? How do we love our life when our life is really challenging?